0.114 seconds. That's all that separated Chris Buescher from victory at Talladega Superspeedway. 0.114. Less time than it takes to blink. Less time than it takes your brain to process a single thought. After 188 grueling laps, after surviving the most destructive big one in recent NASCAR history, after putting himself in perfect position on the final restart, Chris Buescher lost the Jack Links 500 by less than 0.2 of a second to a driver who had never won a Cup Series race before. And what happened in those final 3 laps will haunt the RFK Racing camp for the rest of the 2026 season. Welcome back to the channel. If you're new, hit subscribe and turn on notifications, because what we're about to break down is one of the most painful losses in recent NASCAR memory. Let's get into it. But before we get to the heartbreak, you need to understand exactly how close Chris Buescher came to winning this race. Because what happened on that final restart wasn't just unlucky. It was almost a perfect execution that came up one breath short. And the specific moment where it slipped away will absolutely shock you. April 26, 2026. Talladega Superspeedway. The Jack Links 500, Chris Buescher, and the RFK Racing, number 17 Ford, had been a factor all afternoon. RFK Racing has been quietly building one of the strongest organizations in the Cup Series in 2026. Brad Keselowski led 54 laps and finished second at Darlington just weeks earlier. The team has been one tire stop or one restart from a win for 2 solid months. Buescher came into Talladega with momentum, with confidence, and with a fast car. After the chaos of the big one, on lap 115 took out 26 cars, the field thinned dramatically. Only 16 cars were on the lead lap when racing resumed. Among the survivors, Chris Buescher. Among the wreckage, most of the championship favorites. Kyle Larson, gone. Joey Logano, gone. William Byron, Ryan Blaney, Brad Keselowski, Ty Gibbs all collected. This was Buescher's chance. His moment. The path to victory lane had been cleared in the most violent way possible. The race came down to a green-white checkered shootout. 3 laps, 1 restart. 2 cars on the front row, Chris Buescher and Carson Hocevar. Behind them, a hungry pack of survivors looking for their own miracle. Buescher had everything he needed. A fast Ford, a clean restart, RFK Racing strategy that had positioned him perfectly. He had won the 2016 Spring Pocono race. He's been a closer when given the chance. But Talladega is not a track that rewards talent alone. Talladega is a track that rewards timing, air, pushes, and luck. And here's where the race turned. Because there's a specific decision Chris Buescher made on that final restart that NASCAR analysts are still debating today. A decision that may have cost him the win. And once you understand it, you'll see why this loss is even more painful than it looks. When the green flag dropped on the final restart, Buescher and Hocevar launched side by side off turn 4. Hocevar held his line in the bottom lane. Buescher tried to work the air, looking for the run that would push him into the lead. For 3 laps, Buescher applied pressure. He probed for openings. He worked his draft partner. He tried every move a Talladega veteran could try. And on the final lap into the final corner, Buescher made his move. It wasn't enough. By 0.114 seconds, Hocevar crossed the line first, Buescher second. The grandstands erupted for the first-time winner. And inside the number 17 Ford, Chris Buescher had to live with the knowledge that he had been close enough to taste victory and still come up short. Now let's talk about what this loss really means for Chris Buescher and RFK Racing. Because this wasn't just any second-place finish. This was the kind of finish that defines careers for better or for worse. Buescher has not won a NASCAR Cup Series race since 2023. But in the modern Cup Series, where Tyler Reddick has 5 wins through 10 races and the playoff cut line is already closing in, Chris Buescher needed Talladega. He needed the win. He needed the playoff lock. He needed the momentum. Instead, he got 50 points and the worst kind of second-place finish. But here's what makes this loss even more painful. The story behind Carson Hocevar's win and what it means for Buescher's career is the part that should have RFK Racing genuinely concerned. Carson Hocevar had never won a Cup Series race before Sunday. He drives for Spire Motorsports, not Hendrick, not Penske, not Joe Gibbs Racing. Spire, a team that, just a few years ago, was buying charters and trying to find sponsors. Hocevar himself has spent 3 years in the Cup Series, taking criticism for his aggressive driving style. Veterans called him out. Fans questioned his approach. The garage whispered about his future. And he just beat Chris Buescher to win his first career race. That comparison is brutal for Buescher. Because if a first-time winner from Spire Motorsports can beat RFK Racing's most experienced driver at one of the biggest superspeedways in the sport, then what does that say about RFK's title aspirations? What does it say about Chris Buescher's place in the Cup Series pecking order? These are questions the team will have to answer. Now here's where the math gets interesting. Despite the heartbreak, Buescher actually moved up in the standings. He jumped 4 spots to 7th, sitting at 309 points after the Talladega runner-up finish. That's the silver lining. He gained ground on the playoff cut line. He pulled ahead of multiple bubble drivers. And he positioned himself solidly inside the top 10. But here's the thing about second place. Second place doesn't lock you into the playoffs the way a win does. Second place doesn't give you the bonus playoff points that come with victory lane. Second place is consolation. And Chris Buescher knows it. But there's one more layer to this story that nobody is talking about. Because what happened in the closing laps wasn't just about Buescher and Hocevar. There was a third driver involved who almost completely changed the outcome, and his name is going to surprise you. Alex Bowman finished third in the Jack Links 500. The Hendrick Motorsports driver was right there in the closing laps, working with the lead pack, looking for his own moment. And on that final lap, Bowman had a decision to make. Push Buescher into the lead, or hold his own line and try to win it himself. Bowman did neither cleanly. The push Buescher needed never fully materialized. The drafting partner that could have given him the run to clear Hocevar wasn't there. And in superspeedway racing, you don't win without help. That's the cruelest part of Talladega. The race isn't always decided by the fastest car or the best driver. It's decided by who has the right friends in the right moment. And on that final lap, Chris Buescher didn't have the friend he needed. So what does this mean going forward? 3 things. Number 1, RFK Racing has speed. Real speed. The team is competing at a championship level, and they're going to win races in 2026. The question is when. Number 2, Chris Buescher's playoff position is secure for now, but he needs a win to truly lock in. And number 3, the entire RFK organization just had a wake-up call. The competition isn't just Hendrick and Penske and Joe Gibbs anymore. It's Spire Motorsports too. The midfield is rising. The talent depth in the Cup Series has never been more dangerous. And there's one final detail from this race that completely captures just how cruel sports can be. Something that happened in the moments after the checkered flag waved that should make every NASCAR fan feel for Chris Buescher. While Carson Hocevar was climbing onto the window of his car for one of the most memorable victory celebrations in recent NASCAR memory, riding around Talladega like a king on a parade float, Chris Buescher was pulling into pit road. Quiet. Reflective. Knowing that he had been 0.114 seconds away from being the one celebrating. That's the image that defines this race. 2 drivers. 2 completely different emotional realities. Separated by a number so small, you can barely measure it. And in that gap is the brutal truth of NASCAR that on any given Sunday, the difference between glory and heartbreak is smaller than you can possibly imagine. Chris Buescher will race again. RFK Racing will win again. And the next time the Cup Series visits a superspeedway, the number 17 Ford will be there, ready to finish the job. But the memory of 0.114 seconds at Talladega, that's going to stay with this team for a long, long time. What do you think? Was Chris Buescher unlucky? Did he race the final lap correctly? And can RFK Racing finally break through and win in 2026? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this breakdown, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and check out the video on screen right now where we break down Carson Hocevar's emotional first career Cup Series win. Trust me, that story has a twist you won't see coming. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.